The clock is ticking. Chapter 1. The Hunger for Change. The sun barely rose over the small, rundown neighborhood of Hopeville as Ethan, a 17-year-old boy, ran through the empty streets. The air was still cool, but his mind raced. His clothes, ragged and worn, flapped against his legs as he sprinted past the crumbling brick houses. His shoes had holes, and his stomach growled, but that didn't stop him. Every day, the same. He was too poor to afford anything, too small to fight for respect, and too tired to continue, but something in him burned, a relentless hunger for a better life. Ethan's father, long gone, had left him with little more than his mother's struggle and the relentless buzz of responsibility. His mother worked 3 jobs, yet the bills still piled up. His younger sister, Lily, needed medicine that they couldn't afford. But Ethan had a plan. The only way out was through opportunity. And Ethan believed that if he could just find it, he could change their lives forever. Chapter 2. The opportunity that came too late. One cold evening, after another grueling day of walking home from school, Ethan overheard a conversation at a local coffee shop. 2 businessmen were discussing a new startup that was revolutionizing the tech industry. One of them, the CEO, was holding auditions for apprentices, promising big money and the chance to change one's life. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. This was the moment. The opportunity he'd been waiting for. If he could only get a foot in the door, his whole world could change. But there was a catch. The auditions were invitation only, and the people invited were well-dressed, well-educated, and connected. He was none of those things. The next morning, Ethan set out on a mission. He cleaned himself up, borrowed clothes from a friend, and stood outside the company's headquarters. He waited. The hours passed. And just when he thought it was all over, a well-dressed man walked by. Ethan's heart raced as he approached the man, asking if there was any chance he could speak with someone inside. The man paused, looking him up and down. Then, surprisingly, he handed Ethan a business card and said, "You've got spirit, kid. Call this number tomorrow." Ethan was ecstatic. He knew he had the chance of a lifetime. Chapter 3. The Challenge. The next day, Ethan made the call. To his surprise, the CEO himself answered. "Who is this?" the voice on the other end asked, with a slight edge of curiosity. "Ethan," he replied. "I'm the boy you met outside your office. You gave me your card." There was a pause. Then, the CEO spoke. "Listen, kid, we've got a lot of applicants. What makes you think you can handle this? What sets you apart from everyone else?" Ethan swallowed his fear. "I'm willing to work harder than anyone. I'm not asking for a handout, I just need a chance." The CEO laughed, a cold, calculating sound. "All right, Ethan. I'll give you a chance. Meet me tomorrow at the office. But know this, if you can't keep up, you'll be out. There are no second chances." Chapter 4. The Test. Ethan showed up the next day, his nerves on edge. There were dozens of well-dressed applicants in the lobby, all looking confident and ready to take on whatever challenge lay ahead. They all looked like they had been born with silver spoons in their mouths. Ethan, on the other hand, looked like he had barely scraped by to even get there. The CEO appeared and walked them to a large conference room. He stood before them, surveying the group. "Today," he began, "you'll all be tested. Not just on your intelligence, but on your grit, your persistence, and your ability to think outside the box." Ethan felt the weight of the words. The tests were grueling, long hours of problem solving, pitching ideas, and performing under pressure. Many of the applicants faltered, their confidence shattered by the difficulty of the tasks. But Ethan, despite his lack of formal education or resources, kept pushing forward. He had never been given anything in life, so he knew how to work for every inch of progress. By the end of the day, only a handful remained. Ethan was one of them. But the CEO, cold and unfeeling, stood before them with a smirk. "You've all done well," he said. "But I have to say, the ones with the highest marks today are the ones with connections. Money. Prestige." Ethan's heart sank. He had worked so hard, but it seemed like it was all for nothing. Chapter 5, The Twist. As the CEO prepared to announce the final selection, Ethan felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned around to find the well-dressed man who had given him the business card earlier. "Don't leave yet, kid," the man said quietly. "There's something you need to know." Confused, Ethan followed the man to a small office at the back of the building. "That CEO," the man continued, "isn't who you think he is. He's not the real power behind the company. I am." Ethan's eyes widened. The man pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. Inside were documents detailing the company's hidden practices, exploiting poor workers, taking advantage of the very people they claimed to help. "I know what you're doing," Ethan said, his voice shaking with emotion. "But why didn't you say anything?" the man smiled. "Because sometimes, Ethan, the biggest opportunity isn't the one in front of you. It's the one you can create yourself." The man explained that he had been watching Ethan's persistence from the start. He wasn't interested in hiring Ethan to work for the company. Instead, he was offering him something far more valuable, a chance to take down the CEO, expose the corruption, and build something better. Chapter 6, The New Beginning. Ethan's mind raced. This wasn't the opportunity he had imagined, but it was an opportunity nonetheless. The chance to do something bigger, something meaningful. He didn't need to work for the corrupt system. He could dismantle it from the inside. With the man's help, Ethan took the documents to the authorities, and within weeks, the CEO was arrested. The company was forced to shut down, and Ethan was left with the power to create something new. The twist? Ethan's journey wasn't about landing the job of his dreams. It was about realizing that sometimes, the struggle isn't just about surviving, it's about reshaping the world around you. Ethan didn't need to wait for an opportunity to come to him. He created it. This is just a brief version of the story, but it sets up the idea of struggling against the odds, realizing the true nature of opportunities, and finding the courage to create change.